And making friends is something I've really struggled to do as an adult. And that was when I truly felt like I had found my tribe. Can I make the first move? Do I just sit still? Do I wait for them to speak to me? Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel where I talk about all things related to my own self-development, my own growth journey, how I can be the best self in this season so I can make a change to what I want to see in the future. So the video diary for today is about me reflecting on how to make friends as an adult. When I think about what's on my vision board, when I think about what's on my list for the year, a lot of it is to do with community. A community where you're genuinely in each other's lives, lifting each other up and pouring into each other. And making friends is something I've really struggled to do as an adult. And I'm sure lots of other people out there will have had the same or similar instances. A few weeks ago, I was listening to a Mel Robbins podcast and she was talking about the hack to be happy. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I had a listen, and her whole thing was about going back in time and reflecting on the time that you were the most happiest and content. And I went through the exercise and I really went to think back to when was I most happy? When was I most content? When did I feel, I don't know, I guess at the top of my game? And when did it start to feel like it was going wrong? And I reflected on the time that I was at university, and that was when I truly felt like I had found my tribe. Before that, through sort of school, different schools, I'd felt displaced. I'd felt like I had to pretend to be somebody else. But when I got to university, I got a good group of friends who genuinely felt like my people. I could just be myself around them. It was also when I met my husband. I was in London. I was doing the course. Like, I was like, everything just felt absolutely aligned. And then when I think about that time and I think about where I'm at now, yes, I'm an adult. Yes, I've got kids, and obviously adulting is like hard. I feel like we should have been told. And if I think back about what I had at that time that I don't have now, and I do think it was like the freedom to just be with my friends. Like, you know, we all watch Friends growing up, and the way those people would literally be sat in the coffee house, you would think they didn't have jobs. They lied to us. I thought as an adult, with money, you could just go to the coffee shop with your friends all the time. Reality check, you cannot. But definitely at uni, we had that. Like, we'd obviously go to lectures and we'd all just sit and chill in the common room and just vibe. Like, it was such a good time. And now as an adult, you're juggling your 9 to 5, your friends are juggling your 9 to 5, and if you're a doctor like me, it's a 9 to forever. And then having your rotas all sync up, because a lot of us are doctors in the group, and then say your rotas sync up, it's also having the energy and the, you know, putting your best foot forward. And like most people know, you go to university, you meet a new bunch of friends, you all leave, and then you all go off and live in different places. So like, but yeah, that was what I really enjoyed back then. And I think about my life now and I'm like, oh, Remy, have you stopped making friends? Like, do you still have friends? I do, guys, I do. But where am I making them? So I've got friends from work. I've got one really good friend from work who I've known for a few years now. And I've made friends at the school gate. I'm being silly. So my older daughter in school, she's got really good friends, and I've made friends with her with her friends' parents. I've made friends on my maternity leave, and I've made friends at church. Like, I go to church every Sunday, so I find that I have a community there. You know, being in these different circles, it is still hard to find like your soul people or your soulmates. And I genuinely had a vision of like once a month having a girls' night in, drinks, And I do sometimes get that with my sisters, who are absolutely my besties, and definitely get it with my husband because we still do date night. But you know, when you just feel like you need a community of soul sisters, like that's definitely on my vision board. And my uni friends are my main friends, and they're still that for me, but we're also like locationally challenged. That's the word I wanted to make up, because it's so far to get to each other. So yeah, they have my heart, but I was like, how do I go about making friends or having a community that's closer to me, a community that feels like me as well, where I don't have to put on a persona or change my tone or code switch, or if you know, you know. And I am just leaning into all the different communities and friends that I have, and I'm trying to join new communities. But I thought that I would kind of speak to myself in this video, and hopefully if you gain something from it, all the better. I think there's a passage in the Bible, I'm going to look for it. He who seeks a friend must first themselves be friendly. And the first thing that I think about when I go into new spaces is, Remy, are you friendly? Do you appear friendly? Now, if I walk into a room, this is often my demeanour. I am so like on my phone, scared to look up, scared to make eye contact, or if I do make eye contact, I smile, and then I'm like, oh, how do I make the first move? Can I make the first move? Do I just sit still? Do I wait for them to speak to me? Or I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna say? And these things are like literally just regurgitating around my mind. And then on the off chance I do go over and say hi, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not, if I'm not getting the same vibe back, I just don't really know what to do. Or I'm like, no, as long as as good as it is to like meet one person and really connect, it's also good to go speak to other people. Like, how do you navigate ending the conversation and moving on? Like, all of these awkward things are literally rolling through my mind as I'm out in sort of networking spaces, which I've been recently. And then when I meet people at the school gate, especially where we've been going to the school for a while, if they're not like super friendly, smiley, I will like, again, just keep myself to myself and just keep it moving. And then I'll leave and I'll be like, oh, Remy, why don't you try harder? Remy, why don't you just make a friend? And I just find it really hard. Things that I'm trying to like grow out of, get better at. First thing is like, am I friendly myself? And am I going into a room with a come chat to me, I am open, I am welcome energy, or am I not? And I don't necessarily feel that I do that. And I have, in recent time, been really trying to put myself out there. And so one of my opening statements is, hi, I'm Remy, what's brought you here today? And that's typically what I'll say if I'm in a networking event, because, we're all here for a reason. I haven't quite cottoned on to one to do when I'm at the playground or with like other mums. I will often get people come up to me and be like, oh, I really like your hair. And I do find that that's a good conversation starter, and then we'll talk into it. Or actually the one I do at the playground is like, oh, how old is your little one? And then hopefully that leads into some sort of free-flowing conversation. But then how do you go from free-flowing conversation at the park to friendship? And that for me is really hard, and I don't know the answer to that because I'm not there yet at all. But the pointers I'm giving myself is go into every space friendly and welcoming, have a chat up line that you've like practiced, and then just to not fear rejection, because that's ultimately what it is, like feeling that you're not welcome here, or I don't want to talk to you, or you're not cool enough. And so my husband might think that I'm lying by doing this video, because he's like, you're literally the social one out of us, which is true. I can talk for England, maybe not England, but I can talk a lot. But I do it in spaces where I feel comfortable. I do go into scenarios wanting to make new friends, and I still struggle to convert, sort of early onset chat to friendship, like, oh, let's meet up, let's do this, come around for dinner. And that's something I'm working on. And I think there's also something to be had for just finding your tribe. And every time I go to a space where I feel community filled, I then come home and be like, oh, I wish I could do this more often. And finally, I think it's important to have friends. I definitely want friends. I want a new community. But I also felt like I had to take stock of the community I do have and how much am I given to them. So that was an exercise I did at the beginning of the year. You have friends, you have a community. Yes, things aren't easy, but what can you do with the ones that you have to really pour into them and pour into that friendship? And that's like making a concerted effort to text people, to keep in touch, to plan coffee dates, lunch dates, dinner dates, and things like that. Making an effort to go to events when you're invited, finding the childcare midweek so that I can go out to things like this. And also just being the mindset of not just making new friends, but also keeping them. So you can make new friends for a season. Yes, people come and go. But if you've made friends on like your maternity leave, for instance, actually still keep in touch with those friends, because those friends, kids, and your kids are actually now the same age, and it makes for an easier transition, or an easier transition into playdates in the park, dinners and things like that, going out for drinks. And I genuinely value the people in my life who always check in, who always come to me with events and things like that, because actually that takes me out of my comfort zone of just being at home, or just like going with the grind, keeping my head down, trying to get to the next stupid milestone. So these are my reflections on like friendships, how to make them, and what I can do to be a better friend as well, actually. So my epilogue for today is, you may notice that this is the first video that I'm wearing makeup. And I just thought I'd try something new. Why not? You know, self-care, they say, is all about looking after yourself. It's not something I do very often. In fact, like I genuinely thought I'd grow up being a makeup wearing guru, but that's just not something that's happened. Again, I keep piling on unnecessary work, and therefore neglecting myself. So I did, however, write a list of things I wanted to get done. Like, I want to try that brow lamination, I want to try those lash lift thingies, book myself a facial. Other than get my hair done regularly, I really have been slacking on the self-care makeup front. But yeah, if you have enjoyed my videos, do like it, and please subscribe. I am truly treating this time on YouTube as a hobby, trying to not let it get me bogged down. Like, it's literally just for fun, and we'll see where it goes. Peace.